In this video, you are going to learn how you can get started with your data cleaning in Microsoft Excel. This particular video is going to focus on errors and error handling techniques in Excel. Okay, so first of all, we're going to be looking at some of the common types of errors you most likely encounter in Excel. Then we'll now go to error checking, how to check for existing errors, and then finally we'll see how to handle errors even before they occur in Excel. Okay, so first of all, let's dive into the different types of common errors you most likely encounter while working with a spreadsheet. First of all, we have the division or divide by zero error or zero division error. We have the value error, the reference error, name error, num error, and then we have others like the not available error and the spill error, which are also popular, but these are the most common ones. Okay, so I have a list of numbers right here, and let's talk about the zero division error. First of all, the zero division error is mostly encountered. You mostly see this when you try to divide a number by zero in Microsoft Excel. Basically, in Excel, you can't divide by a number by zero. Okay, so I come over here and I'll say equal to I can use the arithmetic operator sum, okay, to perform that operation, open bracket. Then this number, I can actually hard code it inside the formula, okay, instead of typing on it to enter the reference here. The cell reference is B3, so I'm going to say B3 divided by C3, close that and enter. Okay, so I have the result. So if I do this, I'm going to have some errors as we go down the column. That's because right here we have a zero division error, which means that you can divide a number by zero. Okay, so wherever you have zero, you are going to have a zero division error as a result. Okay, so coming over to value error. Value error is mostly encountered or displayed on your spreadsheet when you try to use a data type that is not recognized by Excel. Okay, an unrecognizable data type. So I'll come over here to value and I will say, though we already have a value error right here, but I'm going to explain it properly right now. So I'll say equal to again, I want to add these two numbers. This time I will say sum, open bracket, then I will select, or I will say B3 plus C3, that is 43 plus 23. I'm going to close the bracket and enter. Once more, I'm going to use flash fill to fill it up, and then again I get a value error here. Okay, so the reason why you are seeing a value error is because this data here, we are trying to add the number 87 to a data type that is not recognized by Excel. This is not 10 actually, this is 1 and O, the letter O on it. Okay, so for instance, if I change it to 10 and enter, this is going to give me the correct result. So this data type 1 and O is not recognized by Excel as a kind of data type or as a type of data type. That's why we have a value error here. Now another instance where you can find a value error is when you try to perform operations with incompatible data types. That's data types that are not compatible in operations. For instance, if you try to use string and integer, okay, in an operation like an arithmetic operation, it's going to give you a value error. So assuming I change this text here to from number to 10, okay, and I enter, this is going to change to a value error, okay, which means that these two data types are incompatible when it comes to addition. You can't add an integer to a string. Okay, so we have a value error right here. Okay, now moving up to reference error. Now you encounter a reference error, or you get a reference error in your spreadsheet when the cell you are referring to in your formula no longer exists or has been deleted. Okay, so this time I'm going to perform a multiplication operation. I'm going to multiply these two numbers, okay, to show you how the reference error works. So I'm going to say equal to product. Okay, I'm going to use uppercase. I can just select it from the list of functions here, equal to product, open bracket, I'm going to select or just type B3 comma and then C3. Okay, then close the bracket and enter. This is going to multiply the two numbers for me. I'm going to use flash fill once again to get that. So I just got this result by multiplying these two numbers right here. Okay, num1 and num2. So what do you think is going to happen if I delete everything in column C, that is everything under num2? Okay, what's going to happen to our functions or to our results? So if I highlight the entire column and I delete it right here, this is going to change all my results to reference error. Okay, the reason is that all these results here, the formulas refer or are referring to a particular cell that has been deleted. Okay, so since we've deleted the cell or the cells that these formulas are referring to, we now have a reference error or reference errors in our table. Okay, so I'm going to bring that back, Control Z. All right, so that's how you get reference error. Now let's talk about name error. Now name error is quite similar to value error. You get the name error in Excel when you use the proper or the improper, the wrong function name or formula name while performing operations or calculations. For instance, I'm going to add these numbers again, so I'm going to come over here and I'll say equal to sum open bracket. So I'm going to select these two. Okay, I want to add up the two of them, or I can hard code them inside my function, but let's just do this. Okay, so I'm going to close the bracket and enter. I'm going to get the result 66 by adding the two numbers. So if I autofill this, I'm going to get the sum of these two numbers right here. So coming up here, I'm going to say, okay, if I open the formula again and I add an E right here, now this is going to give me a name error. That's because there is no function that exists in Excel that is named SUME. Okay, so the proper formula for sum is SUM. So this is an error, okay, a mistake. So I'm going to enter, right, and I have a name error. If I flash fill, I'm going to get a name error all through. That's because Excel does not recognize this function as an existing function. Okay, so that's how we get a name error. Finally, for the types of errors, we have the num error. You get the num error where you try to use the wrong type of number. Okay, maybe a number that is not allowed in that function or in that operation. For instance, square root. Okay, I want to find the square root of 43. For example, I'll come over here and I'll say equal to sqrt open bracket sqrt, then select that and close the bracket, enter. Now I just found out the square root of 43, which is 6.56. So I'm going to use flash fill to get the rest. Okay, so what if, yeah, I have a num error right here. The reason is that I just tried to find the square root of a negative number, minus 65. You can't find the square root of a negative number. You are going to get the square you are going to get the num error. Okay, so I'm going to come over here and then change this 56 to minus 56 also, and then it's going to change to a num error. Okay, so that's how you get the num error in Excel. All right, so these are the different the popular errors you most likely encounter in Excel: the zero division error, value error, reference error, name error, and then the num error. Okay, now let's go to error checking. This error checking is used to check for existing errors in an Excel cell. Okay, that is to check if an error exists in a formula, though it is clearly shown there in your cell that there is an error. But to confirm if there is an error here, I'm going to come over here and I'll use the ISERROR function, or the ISERROR. Okay, so I'm going to select this or just open my bracket. Okay, now I'm going to click on the cell I want to check if an error exists. So I'm going to click on that and close the bracket and enter. All right, now it's showing me the result or the output in Boolean format, which means that true or false means there is an error. If it's showing true, it means there is an error. If it is false, it means there is no error in your formula. Okay, that's Boolean data type. So I'm going to drag this down to check the rest of the cells right here. You can see I have true here, meaning that there is an error here. I also have a true here, which means there is an error, while the rest are showing or displaying false, which means there is no error there. Okay, so the ISERROR is used to check if an error exists in in a cell. Okay, now this spreadsheet, this workbook is available for you to download under this description, in the description of this video. Download it and use it to practice your error checking and error handling uh, methods. Okay, so let's go to error handling now. Now, error handling is the method of handling your errors even before they occur in your spreadsheet. Okay, so instead of leaving these error messages on my screen, I can handle them. I can change and add a custom error message. Okay, I'm going to talk about why custom error messages are important when we get to our next table, but let's talk about it now. I want to handle this error. I don't want this name error to display on my spreadsheet. Instead, I want a custom error message to appear on my spreadsheet. Professionally speaking, it is not good for you to leave errors displaying on your spreadsheet. So this is why we use the error handling technique or method. So we have different error handling functions you can use, but we're going to use just one called the IFERROR function. The reason being that the IFERROR function can be used to handle almost every type of error in Excel. Okay, so I'm going to come over to the name error here, assuming that I don't want the name error to display on my spreadsheet. I want a different error message to display. I'm going to come over here, open my formula. Okay, then come over to the beginning of the formula after the equal to, and then add if error. Just type it in uppercase, if error, and then open a bracket. Okay, so if there is an error inside this formula, I'll come to the end of the formula, place my cursor there, and then add a comma. All right, so if there is an error inside this formula, what message do I want to Excel to display in this cell? I'm going to type it in string. Okay, which means you open the double quotation with shift / on your keyboard. So my error message is going to be check your number, or check formula rather. So check formula, then close string and close bracket. Okay, since we opened a bracket from the beginning here, we have to close it at the end. Make sure you always type your error message in string format, that is inside an opening and closing quotation mark. Okay, so if there is an error inside this formula, then this should be the error message. So once I hit enter, yeah, you can see my error message here, check formula. So once I flash fill it, I now have a custom error message right here. All right, so assuming I correct one of the formulas, let's say this one, I remove the e from here, which means the formula is now correct, and I enter, I'm going to get the correct result. Okay, so the rest of them displays my custom error message, meaning that I should check my formula. There is an error in my formula. All right, so I can also apply the same error handling technique here. If I double click on this to show me my formula, I'm going to come over here. This time the error is not coming from the formula, instead it is coming from the number, negative number. So I'm going to say equal to if error, open bracket, then come to the end over here, and then add a comma and open your string. So this time I'm going to say check your number, check your numbers, then close string and close bracket. Okay, so once I hit enter, yeah, there is no error here, so I can't see my custom error message. But once I use flash fill, you can see my custom error messages, check your numbers, check your numbers. That's because there are errors. I'm trying to work with negative numbers. Okay, so that is how you check for errors, and that's how you handle errors. Now here's a quick exercise. If you come over to this, to the first spreadsheet, error handling, I have a large table there showing an employee data. set. Now I can now come over here to perform a simple calculation. I want to calculate the age of the staffs from their date of birth. Okay, we have their date of birth, even though some of them the date of birth cell is empty, but let's calculate their date of birth from their age. I mean, from their age from their date of birth. So you can come over here, activate it. There are different functions you can use to calculate date of birth, but today we are going to use the dated if function. So I'll come over here and I'll say equal to dated if open bracket. So inside the bracket, I'm going to type the cell reference referring to the date of birth, which is C2. So I'm going to enter C2 here, hard code it inside the formula, and then comma. Now after the comma, I'm going to say today. All right, open bracket and close it. Don't add anything inside the bracket, then add the comma. Now what this means is that I want to find out the age of the person from his or her date of birth till today. That's what it means. Okay, from their date of birth, which is C2, till today, what is the age of the person? So after the comma, I'm going to open string again. I want to enter, or I want Excel to display the date of birth, I mean the age of the person in number of years, that is in years. So I'm going to type Y there and close the string. Okay, if it is months, I'm going to type M there. Okay, all right, but this time I want years, so I'm going to type Y, close the string, and finally close the bracket. All right, equal to dated if the date of birth of the person today, and then Y in string format, then enter. And then this person, Amanda, is 42 years old from her date of birth till today. So if I flash fill this is going to give me some value errors right here. The reason is that the date of birth is not available. Okay, it's not entered. We have some missing data here. Okay, so how do we handle this error? We can handle this using the dated if function. Exactly what we you can do it using the if error function, exactly how we did it right here. All right, so I'd like you to take this as a practice exercise. Use the if error function to handle these errors here. That is, wherever an error there is a value error, display a setting or a custom error message instead of the value error. You can double click to display your formula, then enter your if error function to handle the error. So take that as an exercise. Once again, you can download this workbook from the description of this video below, and then use this as a practice exercise.